In a world, inside a world, inside a computer, inside of a game, there was a world. And we are in that world. Yes, indeed. Welcome back. It's the fatwikingknight, as always, coming to you from another Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every week, of course. And we're here working on our hardcore totemless survival world that has just about 1,000 days in it right this very second, which is super hype, and I'm very excited that we have now beat our previous record, and I have no interest in slowing down at all. If you have never seen me before, never watched me before, hi, I am the fatwikingknight, and I do large, stupid builds for no reason, where my primary function is to make things look pretty, make things look beautiful, and do things that are arbitrarily and enormously big. So big that finishing projects is often difficult for me because, you know, it's hard. It's not easy, and, you do what you can, right? Anyway, in this series we have 5 particular rules. Number 1, no torches in a finished build unless exclusively used for decoration. Number 2, everything must be connected. Number 3, there's no totem of any kind. Number 4, there's no netherite armor of any kind, because I think it is too OP. And number 5, which is the most important, for this particular build, we must use 3 of every single obtainable block in Minecraft in one build, one biome, and it's going pretty well. Granted, the biome is pretty large and in charge, but nevertheless, it is a challenge all in itself, and I am also not allowed to use interiors to use these blocks too. So, like the Pink Blaze Terracotta, for example, guess what? Can't just tuck that in the corner of a house and call it a day. Can't do it. It has to be out somewhere. I can use it as a display or as a little bit of a silhouette or whatever, but it cannot be exclusively hidden underground or anything like that. So, today and the other days, I have been talking a lot about self-growth, and I'm still kind of on that kick. I don't know what has gotten into me lately, or if this is just a new era of positivity, or if it's just going to go away very shortly. I don't know. I have no idea, and I have no way of telling, but I can tell you that I kind of want to talk about something along those lines today. And that is starting fresh. Whether it is a new Minecraft world, a new job, a new era of positivity in my case, or whatever it may be, doing something for the very first time, forcing yourself out of your comfort zone, or doing something again for the very first time in a long time. I feel that it can be both scary, anxiety-inducing, and it can also be overwhelming. But I also think it can be a very good thing. What I mean by this is, change is the one thing in our life, the one thing in our world that will always be constant. And I know that sounds kind of like an oxymoron. Change is always constant. However, it is true. No matter what you decide to do in your life or where you decide to go, guess what? Change is always going to be part of that. In some capacity, in some way, doesn't matter, it's always going to be part of that. And I think that is a very important thing to be aware of. It is always constant. The world is always changing. You are always changing. Your scenario is always changing. Everything about it is ever changing. And I think far too often people get into this cycle of comfortability. This meaning like they get a job and it's not great money, but it pays the bills and they know exactly what they're doing. Oftentimes, people will stay at that same job for far, far too long because they are just accustomed to it being easy. They know how to do the job. They don't have to worry about any other aspects of the job, and typically, with all that experience, they're good at their job. But it also kind of precludes you from going after anything new. You're so stuck in that comfortability mindset, so stuck in, well, I don't want to learn something new, that's scary, that you just don't. Even if it's a job you don't like or even hate sometimes, you just stay in. You just stay in that mindset and you stay in that job forever, basically. Because unless you are forced to make that change, I feel like 95%, and I'm making this number up, 95% of the world's population will just stay in that bubble. It's very nice in that bubble. You know everything about that bubble. It's comfortable. It's also familiar, and it is repetition-induced, meaning you've done it all so many times that you can do it in your sleep. There's nothing new for you to learn, and it's simply a matter of attrition. Going through the motions and doing it day in and day out, never wanting to make that change. Me, on the other hand, I am very much about the lifestyle of change. That is why I play hardcore for the most part. That is also why I play Totem List. If I am to lose this world one day, and I probably will, just a spoiler alert, at some point I probably will lose this world. Guess what? I am so happy just to pick back up and start a new world. Like, truly, it does not faze me. I will just start the next one and be happy as a clan with new rules. I really, really like change. And it sounds crazy, but I think it makes a whole lot of sense within my life. I have been through many different jobs at this point in my life. And very rarely do I ever stay in the same position. Especially if I am not being challenged. So what I mean by that is, if you give me new tasks and new responsibilities and new things to be in charge of and to learn and to everything like that, I am happy as a clam, and staying in the same environment doesn't really feel like staying because I'm constantly learning and evolving in that same regard. However, you give me the same responsibilities day in and day out, I'd say after the 6-month point, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of over this. And then close to the year mark, I would say, okay, I'm done with this. There is nothing more for me to learn here, and I feel like I am being restricted in my ability to grow in whatever aspect I feel like growing in. Which is why I would like to welcome fresh beginnings. I think it is so important to have constant and new fresh beginnings. Even if it's just a reincarnation of your former thoughts, I think that is just as important. Changing your mind, admitting that you're wrong, starting over a new leaf, whatever it may be. I believe that new beginnings are and should not be scary. I feel as if they should be welcomed with open arms so that you can really get a grasp of what life has to offer you. With this being said, yes, of course it's still going to be scary. Of course it's still going to get to your nerves. And of course it is something that is uncertain. You don't know if you're going to succeed in that new environment. You don't know if it's going to be all that it's cracked out to be, and maybe you decide afterwards you go back. You go back to your previous job or to whatever it was you were doing, and you just embrace what you were familiar with after trying it. I think that's valid. And sometimes, and probably more often than not, the grass is greener where you've already been than where you're trying to be. Not always, but I would think that that is a very commonality, a very common issue that we run into. We go in pursuit of hoping that something will be a little bit better. But you might run into a toxic environment, a toxic boss, a situation in which no one wants to help each other, or no one wants to grow, no one wants to learn, and people are stagnant. And then you realize where you just left actually had more growth and development for you as a person, as a leader, as a manager, as a spouse, or whatever, than you previously did. And I think a lot of people end up going back. Now, I think in this particular equation and scenario here, if something didn't work out in one area and I was kind of unhappy, I wouldn't just go to the next thing and then if I was also unhappy, go back. That's just not who I am. I am more about the journey than I am the actual destination itself. And although I believe that the destination is very important, I also believe that it's not the end-all, be-all. It's not the major goal that's going to get you through. It's just not. And it is spooky, scary. But it's also weird because as a child, as you grow and mature, I feel you are trying a tremendous amount of new experiences and things that are changes. You are branching from different grades, you're trying new foods, your palate's growing, your environment's growing, your relationships are growing, not just like platonic, but also work relationships and mentor relationships and everything you could possibly think of with that. It's just there. And then at some point in our life, and I don't really know when this happens, but I've seen it happen a lot, especially since I've now hit 30. At some age, though, we stop craving that change. We find things that we like, that we already know that we like, and we stick to them almost for the rest of our lives. Like people with a attachment to a particular football team. For one, I'm attached to my football team. Probably always will be attached to that particular football team because that's the one I grew up with. I'm not saying to get rid of things that give you enjoyment or make you happy in any way, shape, or form. You want to be a Browns fan for the rest of your life and worry about ever winning a Super Bowl? You be that Browns fan. You know? If it gives you joy, you do that. Root for that underdog because everyone likes a good underdog story. But I've also found it very, very weird that or a lot of the population stops learning, stops trying, and stops looking for change. They just kind of settle down into this, this threshold of mediocrity, I'm going to call it, even though that's not really the words that I'm looking for here. I think it's just a weird thing, and I don't really understand, and I would love to learn a little bit more as to why that happens. Why we get so coddled into the same positions, the same mentality, and the same foods, the same everything. I would truly like to know that, because it's very interesting to me, especially as a person who is always after both personal and professional growth, trying to do better than the me that yesterday did. Always. No matter what, no matter how far I come, I am always trying to do that in whatever I do. Whether it's art, whether it's work, whether it's personal relationships, whether it's, anything. It doesn't matter. I just feel compelled to truly do that, to truly look for that source of change. And it's also most likely why I haven't spent that long with a particular company. I think the longest I've ever spent with a company is 2.5 years, to be honest. And that's because I feel a lot of the times the company stops teaching me. They stop wanting to teach. They stop looking at you as someone that can be taught and just someone that knows how to do it. I don't like that. I would like to always just be assumed that there is more to learn, that I'm willing to learn, and that I kind of crave it. I want that interaction of, I don't know how to do something, but guess what? I'm going to freaking learn my ass off until I can figure out how to do it. And then I'm going to see how I can do it better. And then I'm going to try to perfect it. But I also, while I'm perfecting one skill, I still want to be learning another skill, another attribute, another way of doing things, some ways to do the job more efficiently, to be more effective in whatever aspect. It does not matter. I feel it's all the same. Change is a constant. Biggest oxymoron of life. And I really, really like it. I wonder if there are other people out there as well, and I'm sure there are, that crave, that want to do more, to see more, to learn more. I truly wonder just how many other people are out there that can just do that. And I'm not really sure, but I think everyone needs, at the very least, to be comfortable with change. It's never going to be the same. And every day that you are awakened on this earth, things are changing. It all changes very quickly and also very slowly at the same time, depending on whatever it is that you are doing. It changes. Everything changes. And I just will never understand not being able to accept that fact. It's a fact of life. Things are going to change, no matter what. Despite you not wanting it to, despite you being involved in the comfort, things are going to change. I will say, I do believe that whenever something does change that forces a change, people are willing to do it. But only if they're forced. If people are not forced to make that change, then guess what? 99% of the time, they are not ever going to make that change. And that is so freaking bizarre to me. It really is. Because why? What's the reason for it? Like, I understand that you're comfortable, but if you don't push yourself, you're going to become stagnant also. If you don't push yourself, you are not going to grow in any kind of capacity. And you just have accepted that you are comfortable doing whatever you're currently doing forever. And that's it. Forever. You just are constantly willing to do battle with it, to go through the day-to-day attrition of it, and to be probably unsatisfied, I would imagine, based on that need. On the other end, my spectrum, I would say that I am also unsatisfied if I am not getting enough of that experience. If I am not getting enough of the learning and the teaching and the mentor moments and the building of relationships in any kind of capacity, I also feel that I get bored. I get super bored. And I just want and crave it harder and more than anything I ever have, basically. It's both a gift and a curse, I would say. It's nice to be able to embrace change whenever it comes about and to seek out change. However, on the flip side, it is also nice to be comfortable in your own skin, and I know that that's not something I will ever truly be able to achieve because I constantly want more. I want different variations of things, and I want to just learn more things as I go. And if I'm not being challenged by both my peers, my mentors, my bosses, my friends, anything like that, I feel I just get bored. And the more often I get bored, the more I simply don't do anything, and then I'm stuck in that same mindset that I'm preaching against. It's rough. It is truly, truly rough, but I think that is really accurate, and I hope everyone can kind of understand where I'm coming from in both regards to this. Whether you want to stay stagnant and you are content and happy with the life that you have, that's amazing, and it's something that I wish I could probably experience, but something that I know I will not experience because I'm not content in that regard. I want that evolution, that chance for new, and that chance to be open, that chance to have an open dialogue and an open acceptance of change in both my immediate world and my future world and my past self, I suppose. It's very, very crazy, but I think it is the best of both worlds. Knowing and thriving and trying, clawing your way out to try and get a little bit more knowledge, to learn a little bit more each and every day. I think that is what keeps me going, and I quite enjoy it. I would even go to say I feel like that is the most I can do. To feel is powerful. To know is something. To feel is more powerful. So, I think that is going to do it for me today, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed me ranting and letting me be my own personal therapist, kind of talk out things that I need to talk about and want to talk about. And also just allow my voice to be heard out there on the internet. Even if no one listens, it doesn't matter to me, because that's how this whole YouTube thing started in the first place. I just needed a place to vent out my thoughts, my frustrations, my qualms with the world and how it works. And yeah, that's where we are now. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, ciao.